Those of you that have done the Whiteboard course will have read one of the case studies we have on the history of power development in New Zealand, and you'll know there's a story of a place called Bullendale in there, which was rumoured to be the site of the first hydro development in New Zealand. Is that right?
Yeah, it's thought to be the first hydroelectric power station in New Zealand.
And wider, possibly first industrial use of hydro in the Southern Hemisphere?
Yes, there's quite likely to be the first use for that in the Southern Hemisphere. And there's undoubtedly the first use for electricity and industrial motion in New Zealand.
So being the geeks that we are, fascinated by things that are the first for New Zealand, we thought we'd go on a bit of a wild goose chase to hunt this thing out, because it occurred to me as I was heading up the Queenstown office of Whiteboard Energy that it was only just around the corner, Bullendale. And I guess by around the corner I mean it's about a 15-minute drive, then 2 hours on the most precipitous road in New Zealand, and then about a 4-hour walk to Bullendale.
Well, there is perhaps a more direct route.
Yeah, so we thought, being old, we would take a helicopter instead. So we've talked to Department of Conservation, who we would need to get consent to land and do some filming of Bullendale, or the sites where Bullendale used to be. And Doc got quite interested in this because they're also trying to raise some money to restore what is a heritage site for New Zealand. And there's already been quite a bit of work go on in terms of the history of the area, hasn't there, by various people, Doc and...
Yes, there's been great historical work done by a guy called Peter Chandler, co-written with Ron Hall, but Doc themselves treat this as a heritage site, so they've done some archaeological surveys using a guy called Peter Pecci. So there's quite a lot known about the site, and its significance is understood by a few people.
Yeah, geeks like us included, just to reinforce that. Now, I mean, we are talking about a power station that was built in the 1880s, that we're going in to sort of do our old man Indiana Jones thing to see if we can find out what's left there and what it looks like. So Anna and Marianne and Greg at Doc have offered to help us out with expertise, and they've also set us up with a guy called Paul Mitchell at Heli Tours here in Queenstown, who's going to help us out with flights by chopper for the two old men who can't be bothered driving or walking in. So that's the plan. We're going to get a chopper ride into this place, have a look around and see what we can find, and then we're going to make a wee movie of this, probably an 8 to 10 minute movie for the new Whiteboard Resource Centre, which is going live very shortly. So we wanted to have something that would sort of mark the occasion of this new resource centre. So what we'll do is we're going to keep this updated as we do these various crazy things, get in there, do some filming, have a look around. The first thing we're going to do is do a bit of a reconnaissance exercise in there with we need to get another advert in for Paul Mitchell at Heli Tours in Queenstown, who's going to fly us in, weather permitting, to get in there and have a look around and see what's there before we start doing the filming. So the next time you hear from us, it'll probably be after we've been in there. Yeah? Hopefully. Talk soon. Thought it was lost, wasn't it?
Well, the armature he thought was lost. I'm reasonably sure that
that's it.
The armature. Still no, didn't have the rotor shaft.
Right.
But that could well be buried under. There's a lot of known forest that are covering it now.
There's a tree growing up through the